April 9th, 2019. Oh, sweet, silent listener. Thank you for guarding my heart and soul. Thank you for your paper-thin shoulder and never judging my decisions. I must confess, this will be my final entry to you, my protector of words perhaps best left unspoken. I don't know really how I became this way. Ever since Vic, with a sheer look of determination, wound up her left leg and missed her shot during kickball and everybody laughed, I began to feel people's pain. I felt the burning skid mark from the blacktop along the outside of her knee, and the rolling twist of her right ankle as if they were my own. No one cared if she was okay. They only pointed and laughed. So I felt the embarrassment when they doubled over, holding their stomachs as if it was the best piece of comedy they'd ever seen. She laid there, wincing and holding her leg with tears in her eyes, so I cried too. Except she'd suddenly stop suffering, and I'd be left to take her burden. Or maybe it was 10 years later, junior year of high school, when shy, introverted Cassie ran out of toilet paper in the bathroom. I remember overhearing her from my stall at the other end, her asking if the girls doing their makeup at the mirrors would grab her a roll. "Chip and try, girl," the ringleader said, before cackling like rabid hyenas. Maybe they didn't know she was on her period, or maybe they did. Maybe they just didn't care about anyone outside of their Barbie wannabe group of cheerleaders. Maybe selfish people are so insecure that if they get any chance to one-up somebody, they'll take their shot. I sat in my stall. The vast flood of emotions had my mind confused. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to kick open my stall door and grab that skank by her hair. Tell them all that they are nothing. Or more accurately, that they will be when they're knocked up by guys who peaked in high school. They'll invite the boys over on football Sundays and call other women hot at 40+ years old with a receding hairline and beer belly that they keep swearing they'll work off. I wanted to do those things. But all I could do was silently work through her pain. I could only retreat more, even wrapped in an opaque square built solely for privacy, in hope that none of them knew I was there. The missiles of pain shot from Barbie to Cassie exploded in her mind and escaped to my own. And I endured that pain for her. The full realization of what I truly am occurred in my freshman year of college. I stayed in a dorm despite the stomach-churning reluctance. I never could settle down in large groups, and I shied away from many of the parties in high school. Why was anything going to change now? It was one of those decisions you make to spite yourself, I think. I tried to be everybody's hero. Wash away their struggles as I had done so many times growing up. It was to no avail. Pain intensifies as we revolve around the sun. We unknowingly open ourselves up to pain yet explored. We give up our bodies to non-committals to have our hearts fed to the wolves. We experience the loss of loved ones before we're ready to say goodbye, even though we never are. The first real cuts are always the deepest, and I try to be there for each laceration. Life is a sea of misery, mixed with depleting schools of happiness. If you felt the weight I feel just for one day, you'd understand my pessimism. After my roommate was attacked in the parking lot of our college, her energy transfer gave me months of triumph. Of clenching the mace tight alone at night, of the inability to have an intimate relationship. I'd lay awake at night, watching the fan dizzy itself, waiting for the day I could rid myself of this desperation. After a while, relationships became martyrizing. I couldn't bear to hold on to it anymore, so I turned to liquid courage. You know of my struggles, quiet listener. You graciously opened your ears during my trials, always free of judgment. I kept you close to me, always. You didn't bat an eye at my attempts to drown out the noise, to silence the cries of everyone I loved. They seemed to always have pain somewhere, no matter how hard I tried. It was simply never enough. It would seem as such that most of my life would be a journey of misunderstood emotions. An upwards hike to a summit of what I could only wish to be answers. Yet, as I trek through the snow and sleet, the unrelenting wind at my face, I realize that no matter how much pain I take away, it will never teach them how to heal. Except I had no choice. I wasn't interested in giving life lessons anymore because I needed to support my addiction. My feeble attempts to feel nothing. Hypocritically, ironically, selfishly, I began to take transfers again, this time for monetary gain. I had no one to turn to except the bottle. Sobriety only led to endless despair. It started off slow as I placed a small advertisement in the local paper. I'd transfer the emotions of a silly breakup or a family pet that passed and drown it with a bottle. It was easy work with a little help. This arrangement was working well for me. I was able to live a nomadic and simple lifestyle this way. I didn't need much. I only wanted peace. I wanted to feel less than what I had felt for my entire life, and the whiskey would do that for me. I felt wrapped in a warm blanket of content. The minor, all too familiar petty pain seemed to only poke at my heart. I was able to keep all my tears instead of giving them away, unnoticed. I received a call from a panicked man earlier tonight, and I still remember the brief conversation. "Hello?" I asked, groggy from the booze and being in and out of sleep. Are you the empath?" His voice was quick and nervous. "I am." I already had a sense of the anguish even by his 4 words. "I saw your ad in the paper. It sounds ridiculous, but I need to try. I'm not ready to go, I can't. I have a family, I have children." The man spoke with shaky words, and I started to feel anxiety in my lungs. It was becoming hard to breathe. "Don't say another word. Here's the address, and make sure you come with cash." I usually ask for a description of their pain, but his seemed to already be transferring to me. I had to end the conversation immediately before I took something for free. I never bothered to care for myself, always offering everything I had, and then I'd offer more. Then the pain became intolerable, so I chose to pollute my body. I'm a culmination of neglect both inside and out. I made a grave mistake inviting this man to meet me. When he arrived, his knock was weak. I opened the door to the walking dead. He was a pale blue, and his eyes sat in the depths of 2 black holes of sorrow. "I'm sure you can see already that I'm very sick. Terminally ill, actually." His words sounded wet. He did his best to smile, but ultimately failed. "I'm sorry to ask this, but do you have the money?" I was feeling the pressure again in my chest. I needed to get the business out of the way. He handed me a thick envelope, and I fingered through the bills. "Why don't you come inside?" I gestured a hand inside. He nodded and slowly stepped in. The sickly man sat on the edge of my hotel room bed before it all began. "Look, I don't want to die. I'm too scared. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what God will think of me, you know? We all sin, but I'm paying for mine already, and I think I've lived a good life. I never willingly wronged anybody." All the talking had him taking deeper breaths. The pressure in my chest was building. I'm happily married with children. What did I do to deserve this? What did my family do to deserve seeing me this way? I felt my lungs about to burst. "Take it from me! What are you waiting for? How long do I have to wait for you to take it away? I can't look at my wife and kids anymore. I can't stand the looks on their faces. I'm not supposed to die. I need to be there for them." I closed my eyes and took my last healthy breath. I tried to prepare myself to take his struggles, but nothing could prepare me for the transcendent transfer I received. I took away the pain in his mind, of course. But I took his illness along with it. I watched his rebirth as he sat there on the bed. I watched his eyes brighten, the black circles turning to flesh tones. I listened as his breathing quieted and strengthened. I watched his posture improve. I watched his dry, cracked lips moisten and plump. I watched him take all of me, while I began to die. He looked around the room in disbelief, and he laughed. He laughed as he stood up from the bed. He laughed even harder as he walked to the door and left me in that hotel room alone. I write to you in my final hours, my body a withered vessel of torture. I have given myself away again, unappreciated and forgotten, and I can barely breathe. The pain I feel now I have never felt before, and I know this time it will kill me. But maybe I've been ready to die. I've been tired for too long.